Good afternoon, my fabulous Israel briefers from all around the world. Welcome to a new week of the Israel Brief, where we take a look at those top stories making the headlines in Israel. We do it every Monday to Thursday with me, Rolene Marks. And as always, we do it in partnership with these guys, Lay of the Land. Now, I just want to say thank you to you all, because on Thursday I had a little bit of a melted brain situation, which is not surprising in this heat here in Israel with its bazillion% humidity. And I was quite stern on myself, and you guys were so lovely and gently reminded me not to rebuke myself. So guys, thank you for that. We really are a family here, and as we head into a new week, just a reminder to you all that if you have a question that you would like answered, then please feel free to send it via our website or via our social media. And every Thursday we announce the mensch, the awesome person, and the moron of the week. Usually there are multiples. So if you have anyone you would like nominated on either or both lists, please send them through to me as well. As always, we remind you that today is day 654 since the atrocities of the 7th of October, which has resulted in the reason why Israel is at war with Hamas. On the 7th of October, Hamas and other terror entities invaded southern Israel, murdering over 1,200 people, including foreign nationals, and taking over 250 hostage, of which we still have 50 that remain hostage. We believe about 20 are still alive. We have 49 males and 1 female in Yemen. And out of the 50 hostages who have been there for 654 days, 1 hostage, the remains of Hadar Golden, who fell in combat in Operation Protective Edge in 2014, his remains have been held captive since 2014. We want all of them, without exception, home now. I was particularly heartbroken to read a quote from Inbar Heyman's mother, who said, "I will never be able to buy a wedding dress for my daughter, but I do want to be able to lay her to rest in dignity in Israeli soil." So we ask you all, I know somebody told me last week that people are just moving on with their lives while we still have 50 hostages and while the world turns away. Please, please, be their voices in your communities. So let's take a look at the top stories, and we begin again in Syria. And Israel's health ministry have confirmed that medical equipment and medicines were sent to a hospital in Suwaida in the southern part of Syria that is a Syrian Druze and Christian stronghold. Now, there is supposed to be a ceasefire in place between all the different factions and an exchange of hostages. The Syrian regime supporters, most of whom are Bedouin, kidnapped at least 78 Syrian Druze, and Syrian Druze managed to take captive several Bedouin fighters. Now, this truce is allegedly in place. However, we still have had reports that Syrian regime supporting forces have attacked Syrian Druze as well as Christians. Christian leaders in Syria have appealed to the international community not to turn a blind eye to what is happening in Syria. As you can imagine, we've seen no encampments, no UN resolutions, no marches in the streets of your cities, no campus activism, no NGOs commenting on it, no mainstream media coverage. In fact, it has been eerily silent. Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, has defended Israel's strikes against Syrian regime military assets, saying that Israel is trying to defend our Druze and Christian brothers and sisters, and it's the only way to prevent their massacre. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio tweeted on Saturday night that while it is laudable that President Trump has lifted sanctions on Syria, they are very, very concerned about what is happening on the ground and call for all factions to cease violence immediately. Meanwhile, the US's envoy to Israel, Mike Huckabee, has said that the US is not involved in these strikes in Syria. Now, some of the images, just like Hamas filmed and broadcast with glee for the whole world to see on the 7th of October, we have the same phenomenon happening in Syria. We have footage going out there. Yesterday was particularly horrific, with the Syrian regime forces entering the private apartments of Syrian Druze and forcing the men to jump off the balconies and shooting them on the way down. They have beheaded Syrian Druze and Christians, holding their heads up for photographs. They have raped women, raped children. They have kidnapped women and children, taken them as sex slaves, entered the hospitals and killed people in their beds. I ask you not to turn a blind eye to these atrocities. The evidence is out there. The evidence is out there, and we cannot allow for the world to remain silent while Syrian Druze and Christians and Alawites, another minority group, Alawites, are murdered by those sympathetic and supportive of the Syrian regime. The world may criticize Israel for launching yet more airstrikes. As an Israeli, as a Jew, I am proud that my country is taking it upon itself to defend minority religious communities in Syria. We now go to Yemen, and the IDF has struck targets belonging to Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen earlier today. Most under target were in the port of Hodeidah and included fuel containers, Iranian smuggled weapons, naval vessels, engineering vehicles, and other military targets belonging to the Houthis. Now, this is in response to missiles and drones being fired towards Israeli civilian centers, including my city of Modi'in. We have had to run to shelter in the last couple of days as missile warnings came into our city. The Defense Minister Israel Katz has said that if this continues, the Houthis will be treated like Tehran. The Palestinian Journalists Syndicate have reported that Hamas has assaulted at least 3 journalists while they were on duty in the Gaza Strip. Those that assaulted the journalists belonged to the SAM unit responsible for maintaining law and order in the Gaza Strip. Now, earlier today, there were directives given to journalists operating in the Gaza Strip that they better toe the line or else they will be executed. And here I just want to draw attention to something, and I'm addressing specifically Piers Morgan and others who are fixated on the fact that Israel only allows journalists in if they go in embedded with the IDF. There are 2 ways as a journalist to get into Gaza. One is through Hamas, and you've just seen what happens there if you don't toe the party line. And the other is with the IDF. And the reason for this is fairly simple. First of all, it is not unprecedented. Journalists are not allowed to the front lines of war in Ukraine. They're not allowed to the front lines or weren't allowed to the front lines of war in Iraq and Afghanistan. The entirety of Gaza is a front line. Hamas have built a very, very sophisticated human shields strategy using civilians' homes, schools, mosques, shops, hospitals, and all as military bases. And it would put journalists, if left to their own devices, in extreme danger, not to mention we are still at war and would compromise Israel's military strategy. So, Piers, I don't know how many times this has to be explained to you. I think you just don't like answers that go against the type of answers that you want to hear. And finally, let's end on a positive note, and members of the Israeli National Mathematics team participating in the International Maths Olympiad in Australia have had their best year since entering the competition, or since Israel entered the competition in 1979, taking home 4 golds, 1 silver and 1 bronze. Let me tell you, this country is phenomenal. Despite everything that we are enduring, we still managed to slay it at the International Mathematical Olympics. Now, of course, it doesn't include me because I'm a disaster at maths. So thank God my forte is in other areas. So with that said, let's take a look at the audience question. It comes from Dorit in Denmark. Hello, Copenhagen. And the reason I chose this is because it's important that when we see rumors, we always refer to the facts on the ground. And the question is, has Israel stopped helping the Druze? No, Israel has not stopped helping the Druze. And the reason I chose this question is, where is this question coming from? It is out there in the media for everyone to see what Israel is doing in Syria. The IDF, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the various ministries are putting out that information in real time. To me, this speaks of almost a reflexive need to look at ways to attack Israel, to question Israel's strategy and motives at any opportunity. And I really appeal to you all, instead of believing what the mainstream media is saying because they've got their own particular agendas, always look at the facts on the ground. So that's it from me today, a little bit of a heated Israel brief. And guys, a reminder that you can check out our website on www.layoftheland.online. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. Remember, if you like our content, please hit that subscribe button. We are on Instagram at Rolene_Marks, on LinkedIn at Rolene Marks, on Facebook at Lottel's site, and on X at Lay of the Land 5. So guys, God bless you. Mwah. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.